Hello and welcome to the curriculum preview for the third 6 weeks for the 8th grade. Our focus this 6 weeks is on theme, historical fiction, poetry paired with other text, as this is a review, summarizing and inferring with nonfiction, writing an expository essay, and working on appositive phrases. There's many things to consider this 6 weeks, but we always start with what the standards require. We start with Standard 3A, which is analysis of works that share similar themes across cultures. So we really need to be looking at paired pieces, paired by theme, and then looking at their culture. Are there different takes on how each piece affects culture or brings in a different culture? And what does it look like to have a theme across cultures? What does honesty look like in different cultures? What does morality look like? Things like that. In 3C, we also want to explain how values and beliefs of characters are affected by the historical and cultural setting. So students need to really look at the setting of the piece and then what the setting does to the character. So a perfect example of this would be something written in Victorian times. There's different expectations for women, and so how does the setting of the Victorian period affect a woman character in the piece of literature? Standard 4 is poetry, and it specifically focuses on how graphical elements affect meaning. This is a review. Poetry was taught in the last 6 weeks, but poetry always could be paired with other pieces. 6B examines how the qualities of a character influence the theme of a piece as well as the resolution of a conflict. So really there's two things that they have to look at here. How does the character influence the theme, and how does the character influence the resolution of the conflict? 6B partners really well with 3, A and C, because it deals with character and theme. Standard 9A, analyze works written on the same topic to compare how the authors achieved similar or different purposes. So really we're looking at author's purpose, and we're looking at multiple pieces, but again paired by topic. 10A is to summarize text, especially looking at organization, and 10C is to make inferences about ideas and organizational patterns of text. Those partner really well with, of course, 19D. 10D is synthesize and make logical connections between ideas within a text and across 2 or 3 texts. So again, it's having to choose multiple pieces that are paired in some way, and then the students need to identify the connection between. So in the first paired set we talked about, students are given, text paired by theme, then we're given text paired by purpose, and then now we're asking the students to tell us what the connection is. So there's more than one way to do it, but you're going to be dealing with a lot of text sets this 6 weeks. 17C is the OER. 17A is the multi-paragraph expository essay, and I would really encourage you to write a full expository essay, not 26 lines. Students need practice in writing for real purposes, not just in writing for assessment, and this is a great time to get to do that. And then also we have appositive phrases that we're going to work on this 6 weeks. It's important to know that our Figure 19 skills overlay with each of these individual standards. 44% of the 2016 Spring Star was Figure 19. And what this tells us is skills cannot be taught in isolation from metacognitive processes. Everything we do has to go back to all of those Figure 19 skills. So let's look at assessment from the 2016 Star and see how the assessment tested the standards that are taught this 6 weeks. So Standard 6B, the first question is, what does Bird's explanation in paragraph 13 reveal to the reader? And the Standard 6B actually has to do with the central qualities of a character and how it influences the theme and the resolution of the conflict. So in a way, this is looking at the central character of Bird, and then what does Bird's explanation, so what does she say, and what does that reveal to the reader about the story or about Bird? So really this is an inference question. but it has to do with character. So there's more to it than just being able to say, oh, Bird did this to resolve the conflict, or she did that. We have to have our kids be able to really say, what do we know based on what she says? Another 6B question is, read this sentence. Bird's actions in this sentence best demonstrate her what? What do we know about Bird? So again, it's about characterization, but it's what she does. So how does what she does show who she is? Again, it's an inference question, so students have to have that metacognitive process. Another 6B question, Noah's response to his mother's demand adds to the conflict by. So even though our standard says the resolution of the conflict, this one kind of gives it a twist with adds to the conflict. And so really we need to have familiarity with conflict as a whole. Not just how it's resolved, but how it builds, what events lead up to it, and what happens. Standard 10A asks, what idea about deja vu does the title of this selection support? Now we know that students do not always read titles, so that's a big thing to talk to them too about, is always, always, always read the title. Standard 10A is summarize, write a summary, having logical order and maintaining meaning, but this one talks about the title. So really, they're having to look at and infer what does the title mean and which idea. So you could call the idea a small summary, and then looking at which one names it. So this is a tough question for students. Here's another 10A question. This is one we're very comfortable with. What is paragraph 3 mainly about? On 10C, this is an organization question. The organization of the information in paragraphs 3 through 5 allows the author to. So in this one, this goes back to craft. Students have to look at a small section, paragraphs 3, 4, and 5, and then what was the author's purpose in organizing those paragraphs that way. So if you notice, none of the answers have any identification of an organizational pattern. They don't have any discussion of really the name of the pattern, or was there a cause, was there effect, was it chronological order, but really it was what is the purpose of the organization. So how did the author write it is part 1, and then part 2 is why. Why would they choose to do that? And so students again had to infer and really make a determination of the purpose of those paragraphs. 10D, the synthesis standard, synthesize and make logical connections between ideas within and among texts. This would be a within text, it's just one piece. Which idea about the recycled orchestra does the author highlight throughout the selection? So students have to choose which idea has the most evidence throughout the selection. And I think it's those words throughout, because probably all 4 of these are in there, but which one does the author keep going back to? I think the kids might get very confused with the word highlight, because to them highlight means you take a marker and highlight something. So we might have to have a discussion of different words. You could say, does the author use throughout the selection or present throughout the selection? But I'm not sure they're familiar with highlight. Some resources for you this 6 weeks to use. I think the biggest one for you will be close reading, especially with all of those text sets. You can use those text-dependent questions. Remember those 4 levels to dig deeper into text or paired texts. Appendix 2, 4, and 6 of our text-dependent questions books has some really good lessons created already for close reading of text. They are not paired passages, but you could pair them with something else, or you could use the questions as a model. The Texts and Lessons for the Content Areas book by Smokey Daniels and Nancy Steinecke has text sets already paired by theme. There's 6-word memoirs from Text and Lessons from Literature on page 56, and that can be used as a springboard into inferring if your students are having trouble with inferencing. Also, the Texas Gateway offers an inferencing with nonfiction lesson, and I've given you the link right here. The Texas Gateway lessons are actually written by TEA, so they are good resources that should be very specific for our students. There's also a Texas Gateway lesson for analyzing text for authors' purposes. That would be looking at different texts to see how the authors achieve similar or different purposes, standard 9A. There's also a great lesson on analyzing the character's qualities, standard 6B. And then there's several lessons that they have, and I've given you kind of a little screenshot that you can pick and choose for expository writing. They have an organizational section, they have a variety of sentence structure section, and a synthesizing idea section, and all of that fits right with what you're working on this 6 weeks. As always, I'm here to help you, so let me know if you need anything. Have a great day. Bye.